And still to come on TVC Breakfast, how ripe is Nigeria for state policing? This question continues to generate diverse reactions. Join us after the break for this conversation. Thank you for staying with us. Following the decision made by the former head of state, Abdulsalami Abubakar, and former President Goodluck Jonathan to support the introduction of state police in Nigeria, the Inspector General of Police insists that Nigeria is not mature for its establishment. He also noted that state police will be open to abuse by powerful state governors who could use the police force under their control for political or personal gains and compromise human rights and security. Well, joining us in the studio to discuss more on this is Director, Ondo State Representative, Odua Investment Company Limited. Good morning. That's Prince Peter Faswa. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma.
And in Abuja studio is Public Affairs Commentator Ayodele Adewale. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, comrade.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let me begin with you, comrade. Talk to us where you stand with regards to this matter of state policing. Even the president agrees it's time for Nigeria to go the way of state policing, looking at the security situation in the country as it is, but the Inspector General of Police thinks otherwise, and he has reeled out his reasons. Do you share his sentiments? And if you do, what do you see and why do you think so?
Well, I do not share his sentiment. He has the right to uphold on his opinion. But the general opinion is that we should have state police in order to effectively secure our various environments. And if you look at it from the point of the welfare of the police and from the point of understanding the various geopolitical locations where these police officers are taken from point A, take point A, for example, Sokoto State, and you take them down to Bayelsa, you should understand that most of the policemen that will be taken to those areas will have limitation in terms of understanding the cultural behavior of the people and language. And of course, the geography of that area, which again will take them time in order to sink effectively in to understanding the architectural nature, security architectural nature of that area. And they also could be transferred to another point. And in terms of funding and manpower, we have seen that the federal government, because of the enormity of responsibilities on their table, cannot cope with it. Nigeria has over 200 million people, and the strength of the Nigerian police is not even up to 700,000. And many of these men and officers have also been posted to private individuals to protect them. And you will definitely agree with me that a state like Lagos State that have been funding the work of the police have made it very effective to secure its jurisdiction, coupled with the fact that Lagos have also created a structure known as the Neighborhood Watch that help to gather intelligence and share it with the police and all of that. So looking at that standpoint, I think the IG should have a rethink on its position. And I'll also use Lagos as a case study again. Lagos have been able to create a systemic funding of securing the space. through the Security Tax Fund that have been helpful to provide logistical support for the police here, the RRS, to help them effectively carry on with their duties. And when these policemen are also cut down in the line of duty, the Lagos State government goes ahead to take care of their families and make provisions for them. These are things that I believe that if Lagos, for instance, has its own police structure, they will be able to provide more for them. And,
but the argument is this, Comrade, that not every state is as viable as Lagos as it is. And we know that there are certain individuals in Lagos State who donate heavily to this trust fund to ensure that the state keeps funding the state security apparatus as it is.
Every state has its own peculiarity, right?
Absolutely.
Lagos might be seen to have been, the capacity to fund and all of that. But you must also understand that the population of Lagos is very big, and the nature of security tendencies that are likely to happen in Lagos are also unimaginable. But again, because the Lagos State government have risen up to the challenge and have thought out of the box and created something to protect its own space, which again, the southern states in Nigeria have also borrowed from that trend. They have created the Amotekun system that have helped to push back a lot of these insecurity activities that was encroaching, in their space. I mean, look at what happened in Ondo State recently. If not for the Amotekun structure that was quickly rejigged and all of that, such happening could have webbed the whole of the Southwest and make it a very dastardly environment to live in. You must also understand that people who are carrying out this act also know the opportunities that are embedded in the Southwest and Lagos particularly. And who have ever even told you that many of these states do not have the capacity to protect themselves? We have not just tested the water very well. The capacity that I feel that should be widened should be more in terms of intelligence gathering. You understand? If you can put out the fire before it burns the whole space, then we'll be able to tackle all of these things. And with modern technology, this will also help to cut costs. You understand? And it will also help to create jobs for a lot of people who are unemployed in Nigeria. And when you talk of policing, it's not just carrying arms and ammunition and all of these things. There are so many departments that are inherent within that structure. You have the medical department, you have the carpentry department, you have the food, the engineering, and so many things that are there in order to cater for security needs.
All right, comrade, your points are noted. So we'd like to move to the guest in the studio, Peter Fashua, on this matter. What's your take on this whole issue?
Kindly come again, please. Kindly come again, please.
All right, we have a guest in the studio. I would just like for you to hold your thought for a bit before we return to you, so we'll get his own perspective on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need to understand some basic things.
Right.
Like the question said, the past presidents and the present president, they came up with a view that there's a need for states.
Listen.
So, the president, they have traveled far. They have seen a lot. So I believe this issue, IG should not have even considered it at all.
Are his concerns not valid?
Sir?
The concerns raised by the IG, are they not valid?
Let me tell you, sir. His concern, those things that he raised. Sir, everything in life, it has pros and cons, advantage and disadvantage. When you discover a problem, solution will follow. You have to know that there's likelihood that there might be an abusement of power or usurpation. You have to know. By the time the government is putting this down, the enactment, there will be various laws that will guide and put limitations.
But we have always had matters with implementation of these same laws that you have pointed out.
The problem we have, ma'am, is the execution. We've made a lot of policies, but the execution of the thing. But whereby we have the president who stands his ground and knows his onions and knows what he wants. Any violator, you violate that thing, you are gone. He knows what he needs. And sir, look at Nigeria today, sir. The issue that the IG is contemplating on, it's a good point, but there's a solution to it.
Okay, so looking at the federal policing structure vis-a-vis the state policing structure that we're proposing, what do you think will be their biggest challenges?
Thank you, sir. You see, everything has challenges. The one we practice in Nigeria today, we practice this federal policing. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm sorry to say, it has not pleased the people. It has not met the expectation of the people, because the thing does not go down to the roots. People are not, we have some area that are being neglected. If we go for state policing, like I put it down, it is like when we talk about local government, it's a closeness to the people. So having state policing, you are bringing it closer to the people. It will go into the inferior. And again, customs and tradition of the states, it will be more effective.
How so?
Yes?
How so?
I mean, when you have, this is state, Ondo State or Lagos State, you recruit somebody in that area. Okay. So people that already familiarize themselves with the customs and norms of that area, the situation will be unlike when you mention something, you bring somebody from Sokoto to Lagos, or where they don't even understand this language. There's problem on that area. But if you bring this one, just like you mentioned, Amotekun, the achievement of, may the soul of my governor, rest in peace, the late Akeredolu, yes, as people were remembering all those now, the achievement of Amotekun, sir, for the past 2-3 years that has been established, has gone AY. It has helped a lot of people. They know the terrain. The terrain. They are in the bush. They are the inferior part of it.
Why that might be an advantage? There are people who are concerned, of course, the IG is rightly so, concerned about the fact that they might be used by politicians as a tool of oppression. And
even the president of the Senate also spoke to this effect, talking about politicians not using them, and then how we need to ensure that it is not, state policing is not made by tribalism and every other interest or bias as it is.
That's what I'm saying. That
these are concerns.
I know, ma. But we have identified that thing. In the putting down the rules and the regulation, those things will be there. We all should be a law-abiding citizen. There will be law to regulate their activities.
So from your perspective, Nigeria is matured to handle this?
Over-matured. Over-matured. And again, what we can even do, we can select IG and some set of police, let them go to abroad, to go and study the country that's practiced state policing. Look, in US, you have
the various levels of security.
Yes, we have a state police, you have county police, you have city police. If we let the federal government send them abroad to go and understudy that thing, by the time they come back, they will change their stand. They know that the war does not end up in that area. There's politicians everywhere. But again, the level of your traveling will determine the way you reason.
Exposure.
Yes, exposure.
Let's get back to Comrade Adewale and perhaps demystify this matter of maturity or immaturity of the country to handle certain things like state police, for instance, when we are talking about Nigeria being mature, what really, or immature, what really are we even talking about as it is?
You see, Nigeria is very mature to do a lot of things. And I will use the fintech industry, if I may use the word industry, as a case study. A lot of people did not believe that you can transfer funds by using cell phones. They were more afraid. But right now we have seen that it has worked very well. And if I also take you to pre-independence, when the motion for the independence of the Nigerian state was first moved, it was moved and a lot of people were feeling that what we deserve was self-governance, not independence. They were afraid. You can imagine if that bold step had not been taken, our situation would have been worse than what the South Africans ever witnessed, considering the amount of resources that is embedded in this country. If the colonial masters have really seen that opportunity and we have not put up a very strong resistance against them, perhaps we will still be in slavery. So whoever is saying that we are not mature yet should have a rethink, particularly on that statement. I think the caveat that can be put in the law should be that states who are not ready yet can borrow a leaf from states who have started it. That is not to prevent this system to come upstream. We are in need of state policing as it is right now. And I will also use the LASMA, the traffic control system in Lagos, as a case study. We do have traffic police, don't we? How effective are they, considering the population of people and the people owning vehicles in Lagos? Lagos would have become a very catastrophic environment if not for the LASMA structure that President Tinubu created while he was governor of Lagos State. So we must take a bold step. And I've also used the Amotekun as a case study. Look at what happened in Oyo State recently. You can see the role the Amotekun played. The police have to take a back end, making them lead that process that also reduced the fatality, human fatality that would have occurred during that occurrence. And even in the north, look at what was launched in Sokoto State recently. They understand their jurisdiction very well, and they are using such system, even without arms and ammunition, to curtail the excessive nature of bandits within their jurisdiction. What do you think would have happened if the civilian JTF had been turned into a policing structure in Borno State? That would have helped to cut down a lot of killings and insecurity in that area. So it is not a mandamus that all states must plug in at the same time. They can plug in when they are ready. And states that are ready should quickly transmute whatever structure that they have right now that have been created in tandem with the policing of that area. What is just needed right now is to give them more ballistic training, more arms training, and of course the right mindset to handle arms and ammunition and not be carried away. I remember when we were putting together a People's National Constitution during the Pro-National Conference organization as led by Chief Anthony Enahoro of blessed memories and Dr. Becker. And we thank God that Professor Wole Soyinka is alive. He was the deputy to Chief Enahoro, and I was the mobilization officer of PRONACO. We created a constitution for Nigeria, and this particular issue was a very germane issue that was discussed thoroughly, and the resolution was that we should have a state police, and this policing structure, again, should not alienate the federal policing structure. The federal policing structure will be there to also see the affairs of these various state policing structure. And if they ever go aboard, then they can be called to order, especially using the framework of the legal document that have been put there as their administrative guideline. So I see no reason why we should continue to fear. The IG know very, very well that we don't have enough police to cover the look and crannies of this country.
All right.
Look at what happened in Plateau State recently, where people were wasted.
Comrade, if you can hear me, we'll need you to hold your thought.
Yeah, I can hear you very clearly.
Yes, we need you to hold your thought for a bit because we need to go on a short break. When we return, we'll come back to you to talk more on this matter of the number of police available to us, which is also a matter that the Inspector General of Police raised, as well as incorporating FRSC, NSCDC into the police as well. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking into the matter of state policing that has become a debate in recent times. The Inspector General of Police actually saying that Nigeria is not matured for state police, and he raised certain concerns with regards to that. We still have our guests with us. Director, Ondo State Representative, Odua Investment Company Limited, Prince Peter Fasua, in the studio with us. And in Abuja studio, we have public affairs commentator Ayodele Adewale also speaking with us on this matter. But I'd like to quickly come to you, Comrade Adewale, before we come to our guests in the studio. You raised some points that the Inspector General of Police also spoke about, talking about the number of police that we have currently not being enough, and so he is looking at perhaps integrating the NSCDC as well as the FRSC into the Nigeria Police Force. What do you make of his proposition?
I do not align with that proposition. I believe that the purpose in which the NSCDC is created is a specialized purpose, and we should leave it at that. Though the police also have a cross-border jurisdiction when it comes to that purpose. And I think we should operate our security architecture in a specialized way. Because if we want to go by the thought of the IG, it means that we must also subsume the Nigerian military into the police. We should subsume the Nigerian Navy into the police. And we should also subsume the Nigerian Air Force into the police. I believe in specialization of the security architecture, and we should leave it at that.
All right.
All right. So looking at all we have said at this point, you've agreed for state police, and of course you definitely of the opinion that we should have state police. But how will the state police impact on the relationship between the federal government and state governments in terms of power dynamics and resource allocation?
There will never be a cross of interest, if I may use that word. You see, when you have people within your space that speaks your language, that understand your culture, to police you, these are people that have lived with you all the while. And they also understand and they know where the gaps are. They know the flashpoint, they know the back end. They also know how to use spoken words and persuasion to disarm anyone that have heinous tendencies and all of that. I mean, a case study was what we saw in Oyo State recently when one of the aides of the governor was speaking to someone and he was able to persuade that person. And I think that persuasion came from the cultural point of belief. And things like that be allowed to grow. And we've seen it work effectively in other climes, especially developed climes. If you go to the US, you go to Europe and all of these climes, you see them using these specialized tactics, especially embedding cultural acumen in tackling many of their sundry matters. That is not to say that you will not have the federal policing structure there. And I want to believe that Nigeria is firmly gripped on the federal policing structure based on the outfall of the Civil War in order to coerce all Nigerians together to have a spectrum of belief that we belong to one family, which indeed we do belong to one family. Even within the family, people tend to pitch at one end. Some will tilt towards the mother, some will tilt towards the father. That does not mean that they don't have a family, you understand, understanding or grip among themselves. So we should allow people police themselves, and there must be also federal jurisdiction, especially when it comes to federal crimes and all of these things. A crime that, cross borders, various geopolitical zones, and all of these things, or where the federal police structure have seen that the state police lack some capacities that need to be upscaled. And we have seen it work in the United States when the FBI will come into some certain matters and take over that matter when they see that there are gaps and there are less of capacity. You understand? And all of these things. So we shall allow it work.
Right. Let's bring the conversation to the studio now and perhaps compare notes with you on some of the things that he has mentioned. He talked about, first of all, the matter of we looking at the capacity of states to determine perhaps those who should begin the process while others are learning and then they join in later on, if we are talking about states not have been viable at the same level as it is.
Thank you, ma'am. When I review some of the arguments or points that the IG raised about the FRCN, the road safety,
Yes.
the road safety and the civil defense, I've been issue from the onset. The function, to me now, I'm looking at the aspect of saving money because I can see that the federal government, there are some establishments they set up that are not necessary to me.
Okay.
The aspect of the road safety can be merged
With the police?
with the police because we have the traffic warden. You can
supposed to have traffic wardens
in the
police.
Yes, sir.
So if we have traffic wardens in the police, that's for. Is this supposed to be for a federal arrangement or a state arrangement?
Everybody will have this.
Their jurisdiction.
Their jurisdiction.
Okay.
You have the state have their own. Every state have their own. Then the borderline. There's a way. I mean, we have state, federal, and all. Everything we have, the enactment that bring them together, it will spell out the whole thing.
So the FRC has its own specialized arrangement.
We have studied, review all their papers, sir. If the federal government would really want to save money, they can match. I agree that they should match them. So most of the things they are doing in the U.S., ma'am, you have all this AAA, AA. For most of the car that get into an accident, the police were there. They towed the vehicle. For making it a point of duty, to me, it's a kind of waste of money.
The duplication of
exercise.
Yes.
And some of the road, what the civil defense are doing, they are performing the functions of the police. So all those they are interwoven.
So there's no need for us to recruit. We should just bring them in.
It becomes wider and big. Then the federal government can save more money on another issue. I mean, that's my own opinion. On both the civil defense and the road safety, they can match that. They form a large department. But from every state have their own independence. Okay. For instance, look at the time when they were about to arrest O.J. Simpson in U.S. They were pursuing from Maryland. The Maryland called the Boston police. So everybody comes on the border to block the road. There will be some interrelationship. There will be a way they can relate with themselves. But I know the federal government, during this restructuring thing, please put it on the side. Look at it. Put it on the debate. If we match road safety and the civil defense to the police force, it's large. And the president even said that every year they will be hiring about 30,000 men into this thing.
If we have to merge those agencies of government into the police force,
yes,
don't you think it will be overwhelming? Because the road
we don't have road safety in U.S. Do we have road safety over there? The work is still going on.
The road safety are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that the roads are safe, federal roads. You get your licenses for driving. You must have a driver's license here. So if you subsume them with the police force.
So in America, where there's no road safety and the road is still safe.
Our peculiarities.
We have everything is there. We have the departments. We have the department of everything. And again, see the way, sir, a lot of systems are wrong. A lot of systems have to be corrected. Look at where you see all these police blocking road. It is uncalled for. In an advanced country, man, you see them in a patrol vehicle. You can match from maybe this to Shagam.
That is where funding comes in. How much budgeting do we make for the police? The police
Where
force.
much
budgeting do they get?
When they come
some
on
of
board,
them have to buy the
I know, ma. When they come on board, this is the resolution. Let them come on board. Let them review this thing. Let them sit on it. Let them debate on it.
Would that improve the funding, the welfare package of all of these persons? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, definitely. But remember,
right,
all these things must happen under the state policing. I'm not saying, I mean, when you separate them.
So states will be responsible for all of this.
But there's something coming from the federal for them. A lot of things is coming from the federal. They have budget for that. And again, another solution that when anything coming to the police from the federal, we have local government autonomy. There should be the police autonomy. They must not be responsible or be answerable to the governor. If you say, if you don't do this, we will not pay you.
How wouldn't they be answerable?
No, everything comes from the federal. Everything, you get that point?
States have been asked, to send in their paper with regards to this matter of state police.
What about this debate saying that the salary of the civil servant must be coming from the state, from the federal, directly to them? So a lot of systems are wrong. Can
we sustain all of these things that we're talking about? The federal handling all of these issues. Can we sustain it? Is it sustainable from your perspective? Because we've been talking about restructuring as it is. States being responsible for certain things and then giving back to the center.
You know what I was thinking? This morning I said, risk. The greatest risk is when we refuse to take a risk. Life is a risk. So it is a risk that we must take.
About the lives of over 200 million.
It's a risk that we must take. A risk that if we plan ourselves well, this thing will go well. It is lack of planning. Nigeria is a blessed country. It is lack of planning. If you plan well, we will end up well. We will encounter something, especially we have good head now. The president is there with wealth of experience. The last time I was here, I told you, I said he knows what to do. And everything is coming down. He knows his way. And for him too, coming up with the idea of state policing is heading somewhere, which is going to be a happy end. There was this, during the Jonathan, those conferences held. The man is picking up, he can see value in this. Value, you bring them together. I know he's heading somewhere. It is not in anything in life, sir. State police is like, we want to build a house, there must be foundation. It's a foundation to where Mr. President is planning. It's heading to something good, better for the country, but the first foundation is make sure the place is secure first. You want to build a house, you want to put it on the site. What about the security of the place? It's headed for something good, which I know is going to be better. But life is a risk. We must learn how to take it. If we take it, hey, but the greatest risk is when we refuse to take a risk. But a better planning will give a better result.
Okay, so let's head to Abuja with Ayodele Adewale on this matter. Ayo, you mentioned earlier, I'm trying to backtrack now, you mentioned earlier about the issue of technology in surveillance and all information gathering and all of that. How can we leverage on technology to support state police efforts and improve security outcomes?
It is very important that we plug into it. Firstly, will be to have data of all Nigerians in a central point, which the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Tinubu, is working seriously on. And the policing structure, either state or federal, can also plug into that. You can imagine if you have the biometric data of all Nigerians, there is no crime that is committed without the criminals loosely leaving their imprint all around those places. And also, you must train a lot of people to understand the usage of this technology and also create their own as concerns the peculiarity of crime and the geography and other sundry matters within their space. And for each of these police formation, they must be very ready to work with the academic institutions in order to save costs, because this academic institution already have departments and faculties, you know, to research and develop on these skill sets and technologies. And I think doing that would have saved costs. But again, taking you to another angle, we must look at the issue of welfare of the police and how to cut costs. As it is now, take for example, the IG decides to transfer all of his men and officers from point A to point B across the nation. Take for instance, he decides to transfer about 300,000 of their officers around. The issue of housing will be a big deal. You understand? Their barracks alone cannot cater for all of them. And many of their barracks is in a deplorable condition. But when you allow state police structure to come in place, they don't need to stay in the barracks. They already have homes where they stay, especially in the area where they live. And they understand those areas very well. You spend less on transportation and you spend less on other matters. And their take-home pay become very meaningful for them. So you will only be bothering yourself on a health system for them, which again, the health insurance is there to make things work very effectively for them. The issue of moving their families, changing schools and all of these things, disturbing their mindsets and all of these things would have been resolved. So you'll be able to cater for the few numbers that you have in order to have an effective system within the Nigerian state.
Interesting. Let's perhaps come back to the matter of, back to the studio now, the matter of we taking this matter in phases. I remember I asked you earlier, but you didn't touch on it and I needed you to speak on it. Okay. The state's adoption of state police, because we said not all states are viable in the same capacity. Not all states have the same capacity to fund this matter of state policing. And our guest in the studio, Comrade Adewale, was saying that perhaps we need to take it in phases. For instance, Lagos has shown it has capacity, so maybe Lagos and some other states who are as viable can begin this process, and other states pick a leaf from it and learn and follow afterwards. What do you make of that?
Thank you. There's an adage that says, cut your cloth according to the size of that cloth, not according to your size.
According to the cloth, the size of the cloth.
If it is hard, I can make. If it's just the top alone. So every state has they know their own resources. They go by the limitations of their thing. You can't compare Lagos with others. You cannot compare. The things coming into them. They should contain themselves within the space of their limitation. That's what I believe. They should contain themselves.
But how about the security votes that we always talk about? Is that enough to also support the funding that we are speaking of?
I believe when they get to the bridge, they should be able to learn how to cross the river. The size of police that Lagos will take, Ondo State will not take it. Everything has their sizes. So the one Ondo State will take, Ekiti will not take it. They are not the same in size and scope. So to your limitation, to your sizes, you work according to your capacity.
What about states that cannot even pay salaries?
They can pay salaries.
Have state police.
Sir, something is coming in for them. It is act of discipline.
Yeah, but, it says
we have had reports
if
states not paying for months.
Again, then let's look at this. When Nigeria was agitated for independence, the one that can do goes for it. The one that said they are not mature enough, they stay with the colonial master. So the one that is ready to, let's give them the choice of staffing. The one that will be able to do, let them do. The one that will not be able to do, let them stay.
Out of 36 states, if it's only 1 or 2 states that can handle state policing, then we should roll it up.
There will be a sample case. It's a sample case. Rome is not built in a day. They will serve as a case study to the rest. But for now starting, it's an error. We must take up on that thing, sir.
All right. Let me come back to you now, Comrade Adewale. There's been concerns even from former president talking about the political influence of governors when this matter begins. What should be the message to perhaps state governors if we kickstart this issue? What's your message to them such that the people themselves that they govern will trust them that whatever it is they are doing is in their best interest?
Well, my message will not be to them. My message will be to the Nigerian people to be very watchful and take ownership of the Nigerian state. Every administration has its time limit and they have a time bound. And power after God reside in the people. The politician only come every cycle to renegotiate power through the ballot box. And if the people feel so convenient with you, they give you that sovereignty of power to continue to be in government. So if you misuse it with the kind of technology that the INEC have right now, nobody need to tell you that you will not be given another opportunity to serve the people. So that is why my concern is more to the people than to the political leadership. Moving away from that, I would say that we've also seen in the past where state governors have been harassed by federal police. We saw what happened to Mr. Amechi in the past. We have also seen what happened to Mr. Ladoja, Governor Ladoja when he was there, and so many other people. We saw what happened to Governor Ingige when he was there. So even the federal police itself have trespassed. It's lawful jurisdiction. You understand? So nobody is immune. It lies on the Nigerian people and the Nigerian judiciary and all of these things to do the right thing. So we must not be scared whether there will be an infraction. Yes, we are in a mundane space. There will always be infraction. The best is that we are able to tackle these things and take it to the right footing. Even in heaven, there was infraction. Lucifer, you understand, transgressed, and he was sent out. And even God himself have often said in his book that his angels are not even pure before his sight. How much more we humans? So the best we can do, everybody plug in to the framework of the Nigerian law as it provides for the running of affairs of every entity within this space. And we all move towards doing the right thing and be very watchful.
All right. So in all of this, comrade, we've also mentioned the issue of trust amongst the police force. Do you think this will also snowball into the state policing, where because people don't trust the federal structure, that begins to rub off on the state structure as well?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a question of trust. I would say it's a question of monitoring, systemic and effective monitoring of people who are saddled with responsibility. And trust itself is an affirmation of demonstration of acts. If you demonstrate a very good act, definitely people will trust you. The system is not always the problem, it's the people that runs the system. I remember when I was elected as chairman of Amu Ward of a local government in 2008, and I set out to do what is right. And some people will always tell me, oh, chairman, you know the system, you know the system. And I'm like, who is this system? Show me this system and all of these things. I'm here to correct the system. And somebody said, oh, you have come to govern a council, something that is council that is bad. And I said, no, I've come to govern a local government. And history and people will tell you all of the things that we have done, and people are happy with it. So it is about the people. The people must understand that the benefit of the space towards protecting them and creating opportunities for them lies in their involvement to do the right thing.
But the state has to make them understand that, really, because it has to show precedence. If the people still look back at perhaps the level of engagement that they have had with the police. We go back to 2020, we saw what happened, what led to October 2020. Those things are still very fresh in the minds of Nigerians, and even the police force is still trying to liaise with the people, work with the people as it is. There's still that struggle. You think that isn't a matter that we need to really address?
Madam, the state is the people. The people is the state. And medium like you have always helped to mirror the society for good. And as long as we continue to showcase the ills in the society for people to see, definitely we would all come together to resolve all of these contradictions. And I've told people severally, even on this platform, that the biggest thing that we have going for every one of us right now is this technology called the phone, right? It helps to capture what is going on, and nobody wants to be seen doing anything heinous or bad. As much as people are watching, as much as people are talking, as much as people are engaging, we'll be able to reform the Nigerian state to a system that we'll all be happy about.
All right, Prince Fashua here. In all of this, I'd like you to lend your voice on the role of the people in this regard to ensuring that this state policing becomes a success.
Well, when the people know what they stand to get, one, like the point I have, I say, as a cultural sensitivity enhancement coordinator, I have a lot of points here. Reduce burden on the federal. So I have a flexible operation, community policing, resources allocation. You know, when they know what they stand to get, the benefit in this, they will definitely come together and work and cooperate. But remember.
So who will educate the people on that?
There's more training, ma'am. More training. Everything training. Even you are here now as a broadcaster.
Who will tell the people that this is
is
what they will gain? That's my question. Who will let the people understand that this is what they will gain?
They will set up people that will go around to them. People must go around. The government will set up people to.
Now, that was the question I was trying to ask.
Okay,
the government has a major role to play.
Definitely.
At ensuring people understand the benefits of this.
In any way, we will go down to the road.
Great.
To put them through all those things.
All right.
It is training, but again, we should not be afraid.
All right.
The greatest risk
is if we do not take a risk.
Do not take a risk.
All right. That's a fine place to leave this conversation. We must thank you, Director, Ondo State Representative, Odua Investment Company Limited, Prince Peter Fashua, for your time on the program, as well as Public Affairs Commentator, Comrade Ayodele Adewale, for your time as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the program for today. Let's tell you that the views and reactions of all our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News.